Hello and welcome to Putting It Bluntly for NXT War Games 2021. Tonight's sadly Beth Phoenix's final night on NXT. This was the first I'd heard of this, and I wonder why she's leaving. I wonder if it's anything similar to Scotty 2 Hotty's reasons. The black and gold brand is gone, well gone, and we're just left with this rainbow nonsense now. And if that is the case, or even if it isn't, I completely agree. A couple of years ago, NXT was pretty much all you needed to justify paying for the WWE network. Everything else on there was just a bonus after that. And then Vince McMahon went and sold the best hour of wrestling for a long time now to the vultures of television, and we're at the point we're at now, where it's just a parody of itself. And I don't just mean War Games, I mean NXT in general. It's just a fucking joke. So, we start the pay-per-view off with one of the War Games match, obviously, seeing as we've got two of them, and here we've got the women opening the show. We'll get a rundown of the rules, which are just redundant really. All you need to know is we're going to sit and wait for 20 to 30 minutes until everyone piles in, and then we can have a pinfall or a submission. That's it. We're really only just setting up for that moment onwards. Dakota Kai and Kylie Ray start the match with a baseball bat and a kendo stick, but they disarm each other pretty quickly. The faces had the numbers advantage in this one, so the heels were actually having to work from underneath, with the numbers disadvantage. The problem with this was, when it was time to bring another person in, instead of the fresh member of the team to be the one that makes a comeback and helps them even the odds, it wasn't. The team that was about to get a new member put in the match, they'd make a comeback themselves. And then the person coming into the match would waste 2-3 minutes on the outside getting weapons and setting something up. So once everyone was finally out and everything was in place, yeah, they did everything that they could possibly think of doing, at least once. There's nothing left for later on, for the other match or for any other matches. And just about every weapon and spot imaginable was utilised, so... I looked at the clock and it said 36 minutes by the time a decision could finally be made, which was just a bit painful, to be honest. And then the finish just saw everyone doing loads of shit to each other, and everyone but Cora Jade was knocked out, so Cora just rolled someone up and won. Ah, well, WWE took a nice little dig at the supply chain there with their WrestleMania tickets advert. Good stuff. And then we see the little vignette for Tiffany Stratton, which, yeah, I'm not going to go into everything that we see in the adverts. There's only a few matches on this card, so this NXT show just looks even more WWE-esque with just 6 adverts in some points, and I'm not detailing them all. Bollocks to that. Like I've said many times in the past. Vultures. And next we've got the NXT Tag Team Championships up for grabs in a match between Imperium and Kyle O'Reilly and Von Wagner. And first off, at least this match made sense, the last one didn't. It's a good tag team match, they know how to work a crowd and work a heel and face dynamic and do comebacks. There was a couple of times O'Reilly and Wagner looked like they were going to win, but now an Imperium bomb on Kyle O'Reilly beat him. And then after the match, O'Reilly was gathering himself and Wagner sneaked up behind him and tried to drop him. Kyle's PTSD-induced Ultra Instinct kicked in. He ducked the attack, kicked him a few times and sent him packing. And I guess that's the end of that tag team. Next we've got a hair versus hair match between Cameron Grimes and Duke Hudson. It's nothing special, nothing to write home about, but this was the first time that I'd seen Duke Hudson wrestle in a proper match, I believe. Again, you know how to work the crowd, heel and a face fighting each other. The only thing I'd complain about was the stupid standing Spanish fly. We see a few people do this move and it just looks ridiculous 99% of the time. At the end of the match we saw Grimes roll up Hudson with a handful of tights. Grimes began to position Hudson to cut his hair in the chair, but Hudson put up a bit of a fight, made it look like he was going to finish the job he started on Grimes a couple of weeks ago, but then Grimes got the better of him and cut his hair. He didn't really have that much to lose, but it's somewhat of a comeuppance. Once again, Vince McMahon gets one of his little toys to do a dance on behalf of another company, which then leads us to the Cruiserweight Championship match between Joe Gacy and Roderick Strong. I've said before that I'm quite intrigued with Joe Gacy. He's this strange Kevin Owens / Bray Wyatt fusion. So again, we have a good match when NXT aren't being silly, but those times are sadly few and far between at the moment. This one showed that Strong could still compete against someone that was bigger than him, and he hadn't just taken some kind of step down by being a Cruiserweight champion. And even though Gacy lost after taking a load of backbreakers from Strong and getting pinned, I don't think the belt was his target that night. He and Haaland got their interaction with Ivy Nile on the outside, and I think that was the goal. Anyway, we'll see. I'm probably overthinking and giving way too much credit. And a nice little example of that would be the next sketch we get to see with Icom and Jiro eating loads of food and then going for a shit. That's entertainment. Cool. Then we finally get to the main event, which is the men's War Game match, where we've got the old school versus the new school. We've got the black and gold versus the rainbow bunch. And to be fair, this match did make a lot more sense than the women's. Mainly because the team that were perceived as the faces, which was black and gold brand, they were at the disadvantage, so every time one of their guys came out of their cage and came into the ring, more often than not it was one guy against two fighting from underneath. Then 5 minutes later, a heel had come in and they'd be back at a disadvantage. That wasn't the case every time, but I feel like they made the effort with this one. That was until the heels chained the cage shut, and then when it was time for Braun Breaker to come in, he had a very odd technique of breaking that thing. Look at that. He struggled. It was embarrassing. Not as bad as Mark Henry's attempt a few years ago, but still. Womp womp. After like 30 minutes when everyone was finally in the ring, they did this weird, stupid reset spot where everyone just stood on their side of the ring and just stared at each other. Like I thought they were going to start dancing and clicking the fingers like I was watching West Side Story or some shit. There was a DIY flashback where they gave the crowd some member berries, but not even they were enough to take out Braun Breaker. Well, they were, to be fair, but just as they pinned him, Carmelo Hayes pulled the referee away, started dishing out low blows, and then Breaker beat Ciampa, the champion, with his finish. This left the young lads, the 2.0 team, to celebrate in the ring, and the black and gold, older chaps, has to lick the wounds on the ramp on the way outside. Still a little confused why LA Knight is on the black and gold, and why Carmelo Hayes was with the Rainbow Bunch. I'm pretty sure they've been there at the same time, but yeah, whatever. So yeah, that was War Games for another year. Did they overdo it? Yeah, they did. Especially when on the weekly NXT show a few days before they had steel cage matches to determine who was going to get the advantage, so yeah, we've seen too much of it, too soon and from out of nowhere. And at least with regard to the women's issue, that hadn't escalated into needing a War Games match. The men's, yeah, maybe, if they'd have gone on for a bit longer, but both of them just came out of the blue and were announced suddenly. This isn't some blood feud that's been going on for months and months where Regal's decided the only way to settle this is with War Games. No, it's just that time of the year. Like Hell in a Cell, like Extreme Rules, like TLC. And it just feels really manufactured now, which I suppose means it fits in well with the rest of WWE stuff. So yeah, well done. Way to ruin a good thing. And that's enough out of me for the time being. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to support me, you can like and share this video. You can subscribe to me on YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter at Blunt Damage, Twitch at Danny Blunt Damage. You can buy me a Ko-fi at kofi.com/DannyDamage. And I've recently signed up to Odyssey, which this video will also be on, at odyssey.com/DannyDamage. And then finally, you can find everything else that I've done on dannydamage.co.uk, where there's videos, articles, walls of text, silly pictures, and plenty of other nonsense. Thanks for watching, take it easy, and I'll see you next time.